Freestyle Travel. Hey everybody, this is the Freestyle Travel Show. I'm your host, Kenny Flannery. In this episode, I'm interviewing Christian Cronin, my friend, here in Biloxi, Mississippi. Christian picked me up hitchhiking a couple years ago. Actually, we get into the story right away as we start talking. But basically, I was hitchhiking from, I think, Texas, more or less. I had just been in Austin for a while, kicking around with a friend on a whim. This was in the middle of doing the whole bivy pack thing that I'm in the mix of now, the first time around for Kickstarter. And the guy I was working with then was like on again, off again at work and doing stuff, so I kept on having to leave and stuff, so I was in Florida. And anyways, I'm sitting in this coffee shop and I get a message from a friend up in New York, and he's just like, hey, I've had some family stuff happen, yada yada, and I just want to get away. I want to go to a playoff game. I want to go to Texas, see a Spurs game. How close are you to Texas? And I'm like, I don't know, not too far, like 1,000 miles or something. Which it's all relative. How far are you? I don't know. So he's like, if you can get there, you're the only crazy bastard I know, like, who would join me. But he told me, he's like, if you can get to Texas, like, I got the ticket, I got the hotel room, I got beers, the whole shebang, like, let's go do it up. So I was like, that's an easy sell. I'm in. So I'm drinking a beer right now. So crowd control beer in Mississippi is not good, but it's at the beginning of being awesome. I can feel it. The laws just changed here. It's a whole nother tangent. You can only legally serve beer at a brewery since last July. Something like that. It's nuts. But anyways, back to this. This friend is like, yeah, join me. So I hitchhiked on over. I think it took 2-3 days from Florida, Destin, Florida, the coast. I was doing some writing, got there, and hung out. Watched the game. Almost got arrested once, got pulled over, talked the cop out of it. Almost convinced these people at a strip club that we were cops and trying to bust them for trying to sell us drugs. That was a whole thing. We played it off. Anyway, it was just a crazy good friggin' time. And anyways, heading back to Florida, eventually to Georgia, to make these bivy packs. And this guy, Christian, picks me up. And we get into that story. But I ended up staying with him for probably about a week or something. And we've been in touch. I've seen him since then a couple times. And that's kind of why I'm here now, is because obviously the whole point of me heading east that time was to go make these bivy packs. And he was interested in that. And it's kind of come around again where I wanted to make them again. I mean, I wanted to do an upgrade. And he's like, well, if you're going to do an upgrade and make a new one, why not do another Kickstarter? So I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. And, maybe trying to get a little bit bigger with it. So it's like, yeah, all right, I'll come your way and hang out. And yeah, that's why I'm here now. So the reason I stayed with him in the first place is because in that initial ride when he picked me up, he had a lot of really cool stories. And we'll dive into it. This is the longest podcast I've had so far, because I really wanted to dive into his story, and I'm actually going to do a second parter to this one as well. So he gets into stories about, we went all the way back to middle school with him, and then high school, and then going to this alternative school, and ended up on the streets in Kansas City, but having a really good time, and training to be a Navy SEAL until his leg got screwed up, and then eventually getting picked up as a model and going to Paris and foregoing his housing allowance to live on the streets and then stay in Napoleon's old palace, like just on the sly, like sneaking in. Cool, crazy stories. So it was really good to dive in. Just word of the wise, his kids are here too. He's got a son and a daughter, pretty young. So you kind of hear them in the background. I made a few edits just because they're making some noise or, had to do some stuff, normal kid stuff. But I think I made the edits pretty well, so it shouldn't be too much of an interruption. But you might hear towards the end, we get, I don't know, you can kind of tell that there's a couple kids in the room and we're wrapping it up a little bit. That's why I figured we'd make a second one, because going pretty long too. I don't know. Depends on your perspective what long is. But like I said, it's the longest podcast I've done so far, which I don't mind. I kind of like it. When there's a good story, I don't care if I do a 3-hour podcast. If people want to listen, they can. So pretty cool. So yeah, it's a big setup for what you're about to hear. Meanwhile, the last episode I did was a week ago, and I haven't moved too much. I'm still in Biloxi, but I've made a ton of progress. I'll probably dedicate a whole episode to this bivy pack situation that I'm doing, because it's pretty freaking cool, and it takes a lot to get me to stay in one place for more than a week or two, and I've been here for more than 2 weeks. Yeah, quite a bit. So yeah, I'll definitely dive into that. We spent all day today doing a Kickstarter video, just taking photos, taking videos in the park, and going around to different hiking trails and stuff, getting ready. So, but yeah, like I said, I'll dedicate a whole episode to that, because I know some people are chomping at the bit to hear about it, and I'm friggin' excited about it. Crazy excited. Like, I'm sitting at this desk with the sewing machine. My microphone's on my sewing machine. I'm looking at my bivy pack over here. I got a couple things I already want to do tonight. Yeah, I'm gonna put the chest strap on and other geeky stuff, whatever. It's gonna be fun. So yeah, that's it. I'll get into that. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Christian.
This beer smells like weed.
A little bit. Cheers. Welcome to the podcast.
Cheers.
That's how we do it.
Beauty, eh?
This is Christian. Christian picked me up hitchhiking 2 years ago.
2 years, eh?
2 years.
Yep.
Little camper kind of thing.
Yeah, it looked like a spaceship.
Yeah. How long did you have that thing for?
Volkswagen Rialta.
Oh.
I had it for, I'm gonna guess 6 months.
Okay.
Bought it for 14, sold it for 17.5.
Jeez. Did you ever sleep in it though?
We took a trip all the way to, we took a big trip.
Yeah.
We took a month-long trip.
Damn.
Full month. Which isn't that big, but with 2 kids and the wife, it was pretty big.
Yeah.
And a van-sized camper. So.
Yeah. All squished in there. Pretty good.
Yeah. But we went to Michigan. Oh, wait. We did Kentucky, Michigan, Indiana. I think we went to... What is that place?
You say Kentucky already?
Yeah. It started... I think it was Missouri.
Okay. Like St. Louis, the Big Arch.
We didn't go to the Big Arch. We went to like the far east side. Oh, it was a shithole. I mean, we're talking middle of the desert.
Oh, damn.
It was horrible.
What the hell?
Like, we pulled in, and I'm like, dude, this is like... it just looked like some... I don't know. It looked like...
Something
It looked like a bunch of drug addicts, like, and halfway falling down, what are those, trailer parks, and like...
Sounds about right.
Nobody can live here, and people are walking out the door like, this is my house!
Yeah, I live here. Shit. Yeah, that was like 2 years ago. I was kind of in the mix of the same thing, doing the bivy pack thing. In between stuff, you were doing your tattoo machine shop.
Machine. You met me on my way to creating and inventing a new style tattoo machine, yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of what happened. I was going to Florida, and you were like, if you come to these shops with me, I'll give you a ride to the other side of Mobile. And I was like, cool. And then by the time you're done with the shops, you're like, oh, you can come back and like chill with my family and come back a couple years later and build a bunch of backpacks as it turned out.
Yeah. So the story goes. That's the what's that called? Whenever you got parental solicit lyrics or whatever. What's it called when
explicit lyrics?
Yeah, explicit lyrics. What's it called when they make the Walmart version? The edited version.
Yeah.
That was the edited version of our.
Yeah. So you started to tell me then, and now we've been putting it off to save it for now. But like your original travels in France and everything.
Oh man.
Why don't you start from the beginning if there is one?
There I was on the way down through my mom's fallopian tubes.
I buried fondly.
Popped my little head out. And I've been wiggling around ever since. No, I could do like a really quick summed up version. So, 7 years old, 6 years old, my mom got a divorce. She got remarried, and we moved to Connecticut. Lived in Connecticut for a year, got a divorce, had an issue there. We moved to Florida, lived with my grandma for a year. My mom got remarried. We moved back to Rhode Island, lived there for 3 years.
Damn.
Yeah, it's quick though. I run through it. It's very much the edited version.
Yep.
Lived in Rhode Island for 3 years. Moved to South Dakota. I was in 6th grade. Lived in South Dakota, in the middle of the country, from 6th grade to graduation. But during that time, I got put into an alternative school, which was actually one of the better things that happened to me in life.
Yeah.
I didn't really have to go to school. It was weird. I can't explain it. I went to school. I would go to school with this old lady named Cheryl would drive me to school.
Yeah.
In a red Suburban. She would pick me up at my house. I spent 2 hours to 2.5 hours on the bus to school.
What was it? Were there classes? Was there math class?
Yeah, it's beautiful. So we did these worksheets, which were basically a binder, one of those 1 inch, 1.5 inch, like this big, 1 inch, right? Binder.
Yeah.
And one of those would be a whole class. That would be like through 2 credits or 4 credits of math.
Oh, damn.
And you could do it in your own time. So the point of that is, I could do them at school. At any rate, in the end, I would go to school with Shirley.
Yeah.
Shirley was a 7-year-old lady that I liked. She loved cars.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense.
I love cars now.
Yeah.
Shirley is the reason. Without Shirley, I probably wouldn't give a rat's ass about cars.
Damn.
Which, I love cars.
Yeah.
But I would ride to school with her in the mornings, excited, ready to talk. We would talk the whole time. I sat up front with her in a Suburban.
Yep.
And I would get to school and I would go to sleep. I would go underneath this table and be like, "Hey, Jay," which is a teacher. "Hey, dude, hey," say hello to the 3 teachers that worked there.
Yeah, just pass it
And then I would go underneath the table, pull my big coat over me like a blanket over my head, and I would pass out until lunchtime. And this is the beauty. So I'd pass out till I'd get there at 9. I'd go to sleep from 9 to 12. I'd wake up. "It's lunchtime, Christian." We'd go out and eat. And 9 times out of 10, legitimately 9 times out of 10, if not 9.5 times out of 10,
Yeah.
if not 9.5 times out of 10, we would not go back to class.
Oh.
We would go from lunch to gym class, which would last 2 hours to sometimes into school, which was like 3:30.
How long
Or
were you in the school for?
I was in this school from it's freshman, then what's next? Sophomore?
Yeah.
Halfway through sophomore or third into sophomore year.
Okay.
To
so high
graduation.
school.
Yeah.
15, 16 kind of shit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I went there, I was. They told my parents I was ADHD, I hyperactive, had issues and that thing. Again, I don't want to get too far off because I don't.
Yeah.
This doesn't really matter to the story, but it's just kind of a fun
adds to it.
a fun little runoff. But basically, I had never done anything bad. Like I went to this school, I never drank, I never smoked some weed, I never done anything.
Yeah.
I left the school, I'd done so much shit. Like. I mean,
That's how that goes.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
You'd walk in the bathroom and there'd be people snorting Ritalin off the hair dryer, hand dryer.
I went to like a boarding school I went to a bunch of weird schools, but one was a boarding school, and I didn't mess around with too many drugs. But when I went there, it was like cough syrup, drinking Robitussin,
Cough syrup's
Chlorcidin.
good in large amounts.
Yeah, well, till the next morning.
Yeah.
You're like crap.
I did cough syrup. I was in the military. You know this, right?
A little bit.
I did military training. I did Navy
Is
SEALs.
this after high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Didn't do Navy training. But so I left. Okay. So I'm in this school, and a friend of mine graduates a year earlier than me. Her name was Kim Browning. She was in this church, but it was like the cool church. It was kind of cool. It wasn't like a bunch of losers. It was like kind of the off kids. It was kind of like the reject school. Like there was in the parking lot, you were smoking cigarettes and talking about the party you were gonna go get fucked up at while you praised Jesus that night, like, yeah, Jesus was good tonight. Where are we going to get toke up, y'all?
On to the next thing.
Yeah, and at any rate, she moved to, and she was actually pretty straight edge, but she moved to Kansas City, and she came home, I remember, about a month into my senior year. And I had literally been sleeping for the last 2 years in class and not really doing anything. And I'm like, I'm leaving, Mom. I'm going to Kansas City with Kim.
Damn.
And my mom's like, but school. I'm like, I'll bring it with me.
This is coming from South Dakota.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm like, I'll bring school with me.
Yeah.
I went to the school. I'm like, I'm going to bring this stuff with me and get it done in Kansas City. They're like, cool, whatever. I don't care. I brought it to Kansas City with me. It got locked up in a apartment I was staying in the first 2 weeks I was there. And I got it back 4 days before I left. I didn't do any of that schoolwork. I didn't touch a pen to paper.
It didn't matter?
No. I ended up going back and finishing. But while in Kansas City, I was preaching at this church, and then that house got taken from me where I was staying. And I didn't tell anyone. I found a street partner. His name was Elijah Page.
Told me about him.
Yeah, and we just stayed on the streets for like 4 months. Loving it. Having fun. Just running around, partying, meeting girls. I think I had a fake ID. I mean, we just had fun.
Were you tripping around a little bit or just in one spot?
All over in Kansas City. But we had a main spot under the double tree right downtown.
Yeah.
In this little bush area, we had a tent.
Did you set up a tarp or a tent?
Tent, yeah. And I had my street partner, like I said. And it wasn't like a part-time street partner. It was pretty full-time.
Yeah.
We didn't leave each other much. But yeah, we'd go around. We'd go down this rich district and bum money. Like,
did you make a sign or just ask people?
Just run around hustling, yeah.
Yeah.
To the point where, I mean, if we wanted to go to a movie, which the movie was kind of expensive, let's say the movie was $30, we could go down to this rich district and within 5 or 10 minutes have ourselves $30 or $40 to go to the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Just walking up to people?
Oh, I have this amazing gift. It's called my mouth.
Yeah.
I'm really good with it.
That's one way
and you can imagine, I look like I'm 16, so I look like this street kid.
Yeah.
And so everyone probably felt bad for me.
Did you have a sob story? Or
No. Oh, no, I've never done sob story.
Yeah.
Actually, whenever...
Like we're trying to go to the movies, can I go?
No, just always a positive story. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just having fun, man. I'm loving life out here.
Yeah.
Need a little cash, though.
Yeah.
And, but no, never a sob story. Actually, I really don't like people that pull sob stories. I think they're kind of a crock.
Yeah, and you never know.
Yeah. No. I don't ever know what to believe when it comes to a sob story.
Yeah. Is that classic sign like need money for beer?
Yeah. No, I probably would have done need money for weed at that point in life, but I liked beer as well at that point.
Yeah.
But I ended up going back to South Dakota.
Yeah.
And the school told me I had 2.5 years of school that I hadn't done. So it was like I literally had done nothing since I got into the school.
Yeah.
And
little backlog there.
oh, horrible. They told my mom it was just going to be this awesome program that was going to be one-on-one and help me. It was a total alternative school.
They're just letting you sleep and screw up the Kansas.
I'd say 95% of the kids at this school, 95% were Ward Estate. I'm talking they didn't have parents.
Oh.
They were in group homes. Their parents had left them or whatever.
Orphans? Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And out of the 95% of them, I'd say 80% or maybe even 80% were Native American, South Dakota Native Americans.
Ah.
The parents were like drunks and
they all wound up in this alternative school.
Mm-hmm.
So did you end up graduating? Or?
So they tell me there's no way you can graduate. It's December. You graduate in, what is it? April,
May, June. Yeah.
And they're like, you can't graduate. There's no way. And I'm like, so all I got to do is these stupid books, right?
Yeah.
At that time, it was like, I needed to do 34 books or something, And I'm like, I can knock these books out. I can do one of these books in 3 to 5 days. And they're like, no, you can't. I'm like, give me the books. And my mom said, you will give him the books. You promised me this was going to be a good program. She's a teacher. Yeah. And she's like, no, you'll give him the books. And he's going to try. And if he fails, he fails. But you're going to give him the books.
Right.
And they did. And I remember they were bitching at me on the way back to that school that day. Your mom if it wasn't for your mom, you wouldn't have any education. And I'm just like, I still have to do the work.
Yeah.
All she said was, give me the books. I mean, I kind of agree with her. Like, she wasn't asking for anything. She wasn't offered.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got the books. I went home. I had a friend help me. This girl named Lindsay Harrison. Harris? Yeah. Lindsay Harris? I don't know. One of the two. And I sat there for 3 months, and I did 34 books, and I got a 97 average.
Damn.
And they said this was this is bullshit. He didn't do all this, blah, blah, blah. It was all in my handwriting. Like, what? I just wrote down what people told me to write down. Like, that would take almost just as much time.
Yeah. But they gave you a diploma?
No. They made me, they didn't believe me. So they made me take these tests by myself in a room with them watching me.
Jeez.
I got like a 98.9.
They
were so pissed off. Like, he's really smart and he knows all this stuff. And I'm like, I know it because I did all of this in the last 3 months.
So if nothing else, you got a good memory.
Yeah, at least for 3 months worth. I couldn't tell you what any of those books said at the moment. But
That's how a lot of people get through school. It's more memorization than learning.
Yeah, my wife got through school that way. But so I graduated high school. My parents gave me a 64 Impala for graduation.
Sweet.
Doesn't matter to the story, but kind of a cool first car.
Yep.
So there I was, rolling in my 6'4".
Of course. Are you going on a trip at this point? Did you graduate?
Yeah, I graduated. My parents left because my dad went back in the military. He had cancer, and that's why we had moved from Rhode Island to South Dakota. He had got cancer, and we went there while he was getting fixed, basically.
Yeah.
And the cancer had been in remission for so long that the military told him, you come back or you lose your retirement. So he went back and they left. They left right after I graduated. So I stayed for like a couple weeks and was like, fuck that, South Dakota. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
There's a lot, but not much there. So I rolled out, came down to Mississippi where my dad was. My dad talked me into the military. My papa. And I left, and I ended up going to the military. I had good scores. I ended up being an intelligence specialist, Navy SEAL Select.
Really?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Have I never told you that?
You mentioned it a couple times, so I never dug in.
Navy SEALs. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, it's hard to picture me, but.
So you didn't even aim for that?
No, I did. Like, okay. So they said, you can do anything you want. Your scores are really high and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, what's like the highest thing I could do? And they're like,
coolest shit.
And they're like, you could be a Navy SEAL if you got what it takes. And I'm like,
sounds like a challenge.
Whatever, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So I did. And I did military. I did my boot camp. And then I did my Navy SEALs training. But while I'm doing the Navy SEALs training, I broke my leg real bad.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Like
and
multiple places?
No. What it was it was like this. It was from running. So basically my muscles weren't taking the impact of the hit of running.
Yeah.
And so the muscles that were supposed to take it weren't big enough and weren't prepared for what was going on. So my muscle basically, or my bone basically, from here to here, like a 6-inch, 5-inch area.
Below your knee, yeah.
It just crumbled into.
Ugh. Is that like more of a fracture than a breakdown?
So the X-ray, they did this X-ray. Well, they didn't X-ray. They did like the thing where they scan you, like.
I have no idea. I would just call it an MRI or
MRI maybe. I don't know. One of the two. It was one of those two.
Yeah.
Probably MRI.
Yeah.
At any rate, it literally looked like a spider web, like just.
Damn. So that was like game over.
Yeah, game over. So I was running.
Military.
When I was running, right? I remember the last thing I did. It was a test, and I'm running, and I'm like, "Oh, my leg really hurts," you know. And I'm thinking to myself, "It really hurts," but I'm keeping up with everybody, and I'm looking at. There's a big, huge clock that you can see.
At that point, you're just hoping you get through it.
Yeah, because it's SEALs. You got to make it.
Yeah.
And at this point. It didn't, like, it hurt, and it hurt bad, and I was recognizing this.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, I can't explain it. It was like a third thought. It wasn't even second thought. It was like way back there.
Yeah.
But it was like, something's wrong. But here I am. I'm making my times.
But it's not stopping you. Yeah. You're accomplishing what you're doing. So
at one point, I realized that back of the head thought started getting more in the middle of my head, and I'm thinking, my leg kind of hurts. Maybe I should look down. And I remember looking down, and every time I stepped on it, it's like, boom, boom, it bends to the side.
No.
To the side. And it's not like at my knee. It's like right here. It's like, and I'm like, at that moment, it stopped hurting so much.
That's probably a bad sign.
And what happened was, the thought that everything I've just done for the last 7 months, or 8 months, 9 months, whatever it was an absolute waste of my fucking time. And that hurt way more than watching my leg fucking break.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, I'm sitting there crying, but you can't let them see you. If they see you crying, they'll pull you out of the test.
Yeah.
And I just want to make it.
Did you finish the test?
I did.
Okay.
I'm hobbling. I'm stepping on my toes, like trying to get there. And I made the time. I did it. Like 14 seconds to spare or something. Like, yeah! Felt like Rocky or something.
Your last sense of accomplishment in the military.
It's horrible.
Before everything
it gets better. So after that, I have to walk around and I have to stand at attention. And I'm standing at attention and the guy's like, all right, go. And then you had to like go line up in the middle. Yeah. And everybody goes running off and lines up. And I take about 2 steps. Yeah. And I stop. And I just stand there at attention like, I'm just gonna play it off. I'm just a lone dude over here.
See if he doesn't notice me.
And they're like, the hell are you doing, Cronin? Line up. And I'm like, didn't say a word, just still standing there at attention. And he says, line up, go, move. So I did. I tried. I took about 2 steps and legitimately fell over on the ground.
Jeez. So that was the end?
Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't. They put me in this thing called an ICU unit. So it was an intensive care unit.
Yeah.
And I actually healed everything. They gave me these crazy calcium pills. And I formed this huge lump of calcium. I looked into this later on. Horrible thing. Like calcium pills.
Yeah.
What they were doing was horrible for the body. It could really fuck you up, actually. Excuse me, but well, it can almost kill you because it can form calcium deposits in you and basically form a blood clot and kill you in your heart. Yeah. And they were pumping me with it. At any rate, 3 months later, my leg's healed, ready to go. And they like, you're going back into training. They waited for another couple weeks and put me back in.
Feel good? Were you like,
yeah,
I'm going back in?
Yeah, I was excited.
Yeah. All right, cool.
I'd go back in 2 days into it. My leg broke again.
The same leg,
thing.
same place?
Same exact thing.
Oh, shit, then.
So after that, I got out. I was getting med boarded.
Where was it? Where was the training?
Boot camp is in Chicago. My intelligence specialist training was in Virginia. And then SEALs training is in Coronado, California.
Oh, it's a good place to be.
Not there.
So, what'd you do after you got healed up?
I ended up being, they basically told me I'll never heal up, so I still am not completely healed. If I try to do anything again, I'll still break again. Shit. So I'm what I call a fake cripple. Like you would never know I'm crippled, but if I tried to do anything too crazy, I would probably break pretty quickly. Could walk, I just have to walk different. Yeah. The dumber I walk, the longer I can do it.
I got you. Just like a very particular dance.
On my toe, on my right leg.
Yeah. So is a mile, will that get to you?
No. But if I walked a mile every day for a month, I'd probably have some major issues, depending on how I walk. If I walk heavy, like heavy on the heel, I'd probably have issues within 2 or 3 days.
So how old were you at this point when you're done with that?
Done with it, 19.
And then where do you go?
So I go into a Volkswagen van.
You just bought one, found one?
I bought a Volkswagen van.
In California?
No, I'm in Virginia at the time because I was kind of, they sent me to Virginia. I'm working for the military there. Yeah. And I got this Volkswagen van and I got out of the military. And my last day I had this peace sign shirt that was made out of sunflowers. And I'm like, they're like, Christian's last day. And I like stood up and made some speech like, if you're, I don't remember I can't remember at all, but it was like, if you're not doing anything, you're not going anywhere, and I'm out of here. And I busted out my
the sunflower
peace
shirt,
sign.
like fucking peaceful Superman.
Oh yeah. And so I did. I moved into my Volkswagen van, and I lived in it for about 1.5 years, maybe a little less. Hippie festivals, lots of mushrooms.
A year and a half? Mm-hmm. Just kicking around.
Yeah. A lot of time with my friend Tim Almeida. Yeah. And I lived in his backyard for a while after I lost the fam. But I lived all over Tim's compound. Yeah. But
Where was that?
Virginia. Kind of home base.
Yeah.
Up and down the East Coast. And at one point, my van got stolen from me from a friend who stole my title and like legitimately stole it. To the point where it was so legitimate that I like called the police. I know where my van is. This guy stole my papers and stuff for the van out of my book bag and put it in his name. He has my title, and he put my title in his name. He signed my name to my title and took the car. And they literally said, "Oh, there's nothing we can do.
Really?
You'll have to take him to court."
Well, I guess so. Like, how are they going to prove it?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
How are you going to prove it?
How am I
Did
gonna
you?
prove it?
Did you ever? Or you just
No, I
screwed
didn't.
on that deal?
I just said, I had this strong faith at the time, and still do, that if I would stay positive through any situation, that awesomeness would wait me on the other side. And,
Yeah.
it's always proven true.
It tends to be like that.
And so I'm sitting there, and this guy, I'm living in my friend's backyard. Just weird case of circumstances. I have absolutely no fucking clue how any of these things led to one another.
Yeah.
But all I know is I'm living in my friend's backyard. I have no car anymore. My friend's flustered because he didn't really want me there, which is why I'm in his backyard, not in his house. So he doesn't really care. I'm literally living in his backyard.
Yeah, but still, it's in his head.
Yeah. And then I end up squatting in a house down the street just to get out of his hair.
Yeah.
And this fucking guy, I don't know how he heard of me, but I literally get this phone call or something, and this guy's like, "Hey, I heard you're great looking. I'm a straight guy. I'm starting this clothing company in downtown, and we are doing this big fashion show thing that we're putting on, and we need models." And oh, my little daughter just walked in. Hey, Christ. You gotta be quiet if you're gonna be in here, okay? Okay. Hey, guys. Hey, we can't talk in here, okay? I'm talking on the podcast. We're doing something, okay? No talk. All right.
Yeah. So he
calls me and he's telling me all this weird stuff. Like, so it's this straight dude who's starting this show and he wants me for a fashion show. And I'm like, "Look, man, I'm about to go back on the road and hitchhike and go to some shows. I'm ready to get out of town.
Yeah.
Things aren't exactly going my way right now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to stay positive, but whatever." And he's like, "Come live with me." And I'm like, "Seriously?" He's like, "Yeah, the show's not for 3 months and I want you here for it."
He lives nearby?
Yeah, he lives right down the street, Virginia Beach. And I'm living in Norfolk.
Yeah.
I'm living in a ghetto on the beach called,
so he says,
can't think of it, but
he says, like, come stay in extra room.
come stay in my house. Yeah,
Yeah.
extra room. Come on.
And you're like,
Fuck yeah.
All right.
Like, it's awesome. It was like a $900 a month apartment in 2001.
man.
Talking a nice apartment.
Yeah.
And
he had a good story. It all sounded legit.
yeah, and it was legit. It panned out. So I go to this show though, and he's like, "There's gonna be this guy there, and his name's George Cardis, and he is going to want you. I know he's gonna pick you up and try to turn you into a model." And I'm like, "All right, whatever." Huh. And I had a few circumstances here and there where people kind of said,
he's an agent or something?
He is a ex-photographer who went to Paris in the 80s or something.
Yeah.
And was kind of a photographer for a few years and then came home and became like, he does mostly weddings and like normal photography stuff. But he used to be this fashion photographer and he still picks up a model here and there.
But now he's saying this guy George Curtis in Paris is going to
and that's the guy
pick you up right away.
That went to Paris and was a photographer and is going to try to, he's basically going to try to get you to an agent.
Okay.
He's not going to be your agent. He's going to be, it's called a mother agent. Basically, he's the guy who discovered you. He basically gets a little percentage off of everything that happens.
But George Curtis is a guy in Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
I meet George, and he is extremely, in my opinion, I'm sure George would disagree with me on this, but in my opinion, he was very flamboyantly gay.
He wasn't openly gay. He just seemed...
he was extremely openly gay.
Oh, but he would.
I'll get to that.
He wouldn't say that he's flamboyant.
I don't think he'd say
this is the guy
flamboyant.
who introduced himself as I'm a straight guy.
No. Ben introduced himself as a straight guy.
Okay.
He's the one running the show, and he's telling me that this gay dude is going to be at the show and want to pick me up. And I'm like, whatever. I've had a few people tell me I might be a model in my one day. You know, if it happens, it's cool.
Yeah, but now he's talking and he's got some weight behind it because he's got stories and connections.
And so I go to this show, and there's kids in the room, guys. And I go down to the show, and this guy is like, and he uses these words. I remember the exact words. He says, "Oh, you look so fabulous," and blah, blah, blah. And I want to take your pictures, and I'm going to take you to Paris.
Okay.
And just a quick backstory. The guy who stole my Volkswagen van also happened to be a gay guy, which I was friends with. Yeah. Because I have no problems with people being whatever they are. Yeah. But this dude got like weird and stole my van, like jealous. Yeah. And I've never presented myself as ever being interested in a guy. Yeah. So it was like
chilling out the kids real quick.
And so he got all jealous and he stole my van. So this guy's like, "I'm taking you to Paris." And I remember thinking in my head, in that very moment, like, the fuck you are. Like, there's no fucking way. Yeah. I'm getting on a plane with a guy paying my way to Paris. I just had this guy expect something, and he gave me practically nothing. This guy's going to buy me a ticket to Paris? Yeah. He's going to expect something. There's no way I'm going with
something behind this, maybe. Yeah. Like.
So he gives me his phone number, and I can basically remember like taking the phone number and be like, "Thanks, man," like crumple it up, throw it behind my back, and walk away. Yeah. "Appreciate it, bro. I'll call you later." Yeah. And hey, guys. Hey. No talking, boys and girls. None. And so, so I turned around and I walked away. 3 months later, same guy at Panera Bread. Still remember it, if I try hard enough.
In Virginia.
And he runs up to my table. "Why haven't you called me?"
Where have you been staying these last 3 months?
Half of it with Ben and half of it with a new girlfriend, Elizabeth.
Gotcha.
And
so you see him at Panera?
See him at Panera Bread. Yeah. And he comes running up, "Why haven't you called me?" And he sits down at my table, I'm eating, and he's like, I'm like, "I got two versions. I can tell you the real one, or I have a really cool spiced up version that make you feel good about yourself." He's like, "I can take the truth." And I'm like, "Well, you said I'm going to take you to Paris. And I'm sorry, but I'm not going with some gay dude to Paris. Like, you know, you're just going to try to fuck me in my butt." Like, I don't want to go to Paris. I'm not trying to get some dude like thinking he's getting some from me. And I remember his reaction was something along the lines of, "Oh, no, I didn't say that. That would be nice, but I didn't say I'm going to go with you. I can't go with you, silly." And I'm like, "What? You're not going with me?"
Didn't mention that.
Oh, it's a whole nother world. And he's like, "No, I need you to come to my house. I need to take some pictures of you. I'm going to send those to Paris. You're going to get on a plane and you're going to go to Paris and you're going to be a model." And I'm like, "When do you want me to come over?"
Yeah, let's get it going.
So about 2 weeks later, I went to his house, maybe even a week.
Got naked, took it in the butt a little bit, took a couple photos, and
my butt came out hurting horribly. But no. He did take some odd pictures. I had to get down in my boxer shorts. I don't even think I had boxer shorts, so I think he may have gave me some. So I get in these like underwears. He takes pictures of me. At this point, I am thinking like, this is a crock of shit. Yeah. You know, this guy just
was it legit? Was it like a real studio, or did he just have like a camera phone?
It was basically like a dude with his camera, and I'm like on his bed with messed up sheets, like posing up for him. I'm like, this is such a crap. If he gets close, if he gets within 3 feet, I'm backing away. Yeah. And
but it went smooth.
Yeah, he just took pictures. He never got close to me. Never was weirdo. Yeah. To the full extent of weirdness. I mean, it was pretty weird. Yeah. But 3 days later, he calls me. "Geraldine is going to be your agent in Paris, and they want you to be there as soon as possible. When can you get on a plane?" I said, "Whenever you put me on it."
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, all you need to do is get your passport." I said, "No. And he was like, what do you mean no? I said, all you need to do is get me my passport. I'm like, I don't think you know who you're talking to. Like, I'm a bum, bro. I don't have no money. I don't want no money. Yeah. If I want money, I'll go figure out how to get it. But I'm going to be spending it 30 minutes after that. I'm not getting the next week's worth of money. That's just not how I rolled at that point, you know?
Yeah.
And he said, okay. And he bought me my passport and expedite shipping it. And it was there in like
sweet
2 weeks.
Oh.
In 3 weeks, I was on a plane to Paris with $5 in my hand.
Yeah.
A pair of galoshes. Do you remember those? Leather galoshes.
They were clogs, kind of?
They were clogs.
Okay.
They were clogs. I called them galoshes because that's what they reminded me of. But they were clogs. I haven't heard that word since the 90s, but that's what they were.
So you just had a backpack, $5.
Backpack, some like
you have a tent
baggy pants. No, nothing. $5 in my pocket. A pair of clogs. One pair of baggy pants, jeans. 2 T-shirts and a half-ass sweatshirt, and I got on a plane to Paris with $5 in my pocket.
Someone meet you at the airport?
They did, luckily.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Make some moves.
And I walked past. I got to Paris, and I walked past customs like they didn't exist. Like they were inspecting all these people, and I just kind of like did some look arounds and just walked right past them into Paris. Yeah. No passport stamp, nothing even looked at.
Yeah.
Walked into Paris.
Was that a problem when you left, or?
No, Paris didn't care at that time. I don't know if they do now, but they were pretty slack.
Yeah.
London was a little harder. But I walked in. There was some guy standing there with a sign, and I got in the car, and they drove me to the agency, Next Models, which is a huge modeling agency.
Yeah.
Deals with huge models.
They set you up with a place to stay?
They had me a place to stay, $50, which is nothing, but $50. Here you go.
Yeah.
A place to stay. Here's a key. And the driver will take you back there. And I'm like, don't need the driver? Give him $50? Give him my address? The driver had shown it to me on the way there. He's like, this is going to be your place. Go in and put your stuff. I went and put my stuff, came back down, went to the agency.
How far was it from the agency?
Walking?
Yeah,
maybe 2 or 3 miles.
Oh, okay.
All in Paris. Paris is a big circle, basically.
Well, Paris is pretty big, so it'd be 2 or 3
I'm up
miles
here.
away.
I'm up here.
Sweet.
And it's like right here.
In the north, yeah. Closer to the center.
In the middle. It's like right across the street from the Louvre. Right across and down a little.
The agency is, or what you were saying?
The agency is. Yeah. And I was staying like right on the street, just a little down from the Moulin Rouge show. So I was in Barbès Rochechouart by Sacré-Cœur. Stayed there for 3.5 years. Je vous parle français.
You had that spot for 3.5 years?
Oh, bon oui. No, I got rid of the apartment. There's a good reason.
Yeah.
So the apartment cost me $800 a month.
They were charging you for it?
Yeah. I paid for it. It's not so much they're charging me as much as
Did they take it out of your pay, or did they pay you and then you paid for it?
They took it out of my pay.
Okay, I gotcha.
So I was modeling. I was doing good. I stayed in that house for 3 months, right? I met a girlfriend there. She said I could move into her house, so I got out of that place and said, look, give me my allowance that you're paying for this place.
Yeah.
To me, I want the money. I want the place.
Yeah.
So they're giving me $250 now a week.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Extra. Sweet.
$250 a week instead of $50 a week. So I'm like,
awesome.
Hell yeah!
This
now
is on top of whatever your
this is
modeling
cool.
pay is.
That's how they gave me my modeling pay. Okay. Instead of just saying, "Oh, you made $5,000 this week.
Yeah.
Here's $5,000," because next week I might have made nothing. Total, I made about $45,000 in 3.5 years.
You had some $5,000 weeks though.
I had a $17,000 30-minute.
What was that?
I shot for Lagerfeld, Mr. Karl Lagerfeld, who happens to be an extremely rich billionaire in Europe, one of the top 10 richest people, I believe, in Europe.
Has he got a shirt company? Or?
He was the head designer of Chanel and Fendi. He was one of the best friends of Coco Chanel. He was an older gentleman, probably in his 70s. But we're talking a multi-billionaire from birth. And
so what was the 30 minutes? What were you
I went up and shot for his thing.
Some clothes or watches?
So I say 30 minutes. I got to his house, which is a mansion in Paris.
Yeah.
A mansion in Paris. In Paris.
It's hard to do.
That's pretty impressive to begin with.
Yeah.
Then I get in this limo van Which, it's just a limo van. It was one of the coolest cars I've ever been in. Yeah. Like, I've been in a bunch of limos. This van was the coolest shit ever. Like, TVs all over. Damn. Big TVs, like 50-inch TV on the wall.
Holy crap.
Yeah, just cool, like leather.
Party van.
It was so cool. And so I'm like, where are we going? And they're like, we're going to the airport. And I'm like, holy shit. I have 13 grams of some killer weed in my pocket. And we're going to the airport. And they're like, private jet. Sweet. I get there. I later find out I'm riding in the same jet that is Air Force One for Paris. Oh, so really? it's their president, whatever. No, that just happens to be what kind of jet the guy owns. He owns the same jet.
Yeah, same model.
As they use for the president of France as their Air Force One.
Sweet.
and I'm sitting there and I'm like,
is it just you?
So there's a few other people, but I'm like, so can I like smoke a cigarette in here? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, serious, I can smoke a cigarette in here. That's how I asked. Can I smoke a cigarette in here? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, cool. Has anybody got one? And they give me the cigarette. I lick it right down the little line, bust it open, and roll a big old fat spliff. And everyone on that fucking plane is watching me. And I'm just like,
yep.
At 25,000 feet, Christian Cronin decided to light up. I lit up this big old bomb, dude.
Did anyone like enjoy with you? Or they just like,
but I'd say there was 15 people in that fucking plane.
Yeah.
14 of them were staring at me in amazement, like this cocky motherfucker. And I'm thinking, at the time, I'm homeless. I'd moved out because my girlfriend told me I could move in.
Yeah.
A month later, she tells me I gotta find a place to stay. I didn't. I stayed homeless. Which is great stories. I'll tell you in a moment. But this story is, I'm on this plane. We get there. I get a limo ride and a limo Hummer to his compound, which is called a Vista. I later found out a Vista is not a house. It is a compound encompassing houses, parks. This particular Vista was in Biarritz, France, which is an extremely rich part of France.
There's a bunch of houses, like pool houses.
It had three mansions. Damn. The largest personally owned swimming pool happened to be right outside my door because I chose this one mansion. Carl was up in this big ass mansion that was his. Yeah. I'm down in this other mansion. And I remember they're walking me through, giving me like the little tour. And Carl was actually doing it himself. And he's like, oh, yes. And it's Monday, right? It's on a Monday. And he's like, oh, yes. Oh, and his little French accent, which was awesome. I really like Carl, even though he didn't probably dig me too much because I wasn't gay. But, so he's like, oh, yeah, so Friday, this weekend from Friday to Sunday, Pamela Anderson stayed here.
Damn.
So the next question we're standing in the middle of this. He's saying we can each pick a place, and he's saying this, and I said, "Well, what mansion did she happen to stay in?" And he was like, "Oh, he stayed in this one. It was like the second biggest one." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Which bed did she sleep in?" He's like, "That one right there." And I'm like, I called dibs on that
one. They changed the sheets.
Yeah, dude, it was just this. It was crazy. I can't even explain these beds. Like, they're beyond our beds.
What do you mean? Is it like a?
So this bed is
beyond the king size.
This is a king size bed, but it is covered in plush white pillows. Covered in plush white pillows. You had to move the pillows, and they did it up for me.
Yeah.
The next night, I slept in a bed that was a king size bed. It, without any blankets, it was a leather bed.
Leather bed?
The bed was leather.
Is that comfortable?
It was comfortable.
Yeah.
And so I stayed in this place for 3 days. Outside my door was the largest personally owned swimming pool in Europe.
So bigger than Olympic size, I'm guessing.
Yeah. It was an Olympic size. It was a little larger than an Olympic sized pool. It was all stone floored. It had speaker systems all over it. And I'm like, what do you mean speaker systems? So that first night, I'm I'm sitting in my thing. I've got 3 other model dudes that were cool, you know.
Yeah.
And I've got 13 grams of killer bud plus another like maybe 9 grams of killer hash.
Yeah.
And I'm just rolling up these huge bobs. You know, we're talking 8-inch bobs.
Are these all guys that came with you, or you met them
They
there,
were on
or?
the plane.
Yeah.
And I'm just blowing down. He has 37 people who live on site. Butlers, maids, 37. Not to mention people that don't live on site.
So they're hanging out
So
too.
these butlers and maids are like walking through, like making the beds and stuff.
Yeah.
And I am literally like, they're stopping and asking me questions. And I've got this big hooter. I'm just like, yo.
Papa, Craig just told on you anyway.
What did she tell on me?
We were playing games on her phone.
Okay, well, if you give me just a minute, we'll get back to it, okay? So this happened, and I did my little shoot. And the reason I say I got paid $17,000 for 30 minutes was the shoot literally took 30 minutes long. Like, I got in there, and he like, click, 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 change your clothes. I changed the clothes, click, 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 change the clothes again. 30 minutes later, he's like, we're done.
How long were you there?
3 days.
3 days.
Yeah. And so I get back to Paris, and I'm back to homeless.
Yeah.
Like, how I could go from that to homeless.
Yeah.
And another time I went with Carl, same place, Biarritz. He put me in this hotel called Hotel de Palais. At any rate, it was one of, what's the French dictator that got his head chopped off?
Ooh, I don't know.
The French king. The most, Napoleon? I think Napoleon, right?
Napoleon, okay.
Yeah, so Napoleon. It was Napoleon's spring mansion or castle. And it was turned into a hotel. And it sat on this cliff. It was just huge castle. I'm looking out my windows, like this huge, like 16-foot tall windows that you open up, just ginormous. And you're looking down over this cliff of this cove,
Yeah.
like beach.
That's
and there's
crazy.
this huge rock in the middle and these huge waves, and it was like stormy. It was just really cool.
And then you go back, like, when
home.
you're homeless in Paris, where are you staying?
Everywhere. Oh, my favorite place? I stayed all over, but my favorite place was I would go to see my girlfriend, which she lived in Versailles.
Is this a different girlfriend or the one?
Same one. But she like never told her parents that she was with me.
Wait, so she kicked you out or something, and then?
Basically,
But then she was still
basically
seeing you.
Yeah,
was just
she
like,
just
"Can't
said I
stay
can't
here."
stay there.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So at a certain time of night, she'd be like, "Well, you got to go," and I'd be like, "Okay," and I didn't tell her much. I didn't care.
Yeah.
Well, at that time, I'm poor. I didn't have a lot of money, and I'm sitting at this.
So she didn't know that you were just like going off and.
No, but I'd already figured out that I could get into this. I could get into the Versailles Castle Gardens through a back entranceway.
Really?
Yeah, but I didn't have any money and I didn't have any food, so it wasn't. I mean, it was cool. Like I'm living in the castle gardens. Hey guys, you guys got to go in if you're gonna make noise.
Yeah. So you're in the gardens?
I'm able to get into the Versailles Castle Gardens, which is basically this enormous castle that Napoleon built, and everyone got pissed that he built this luxurious castle. And basically, everyone got mad at him, and they chopped his head off. It was literally the reason they cut the head off.
Because
of the
he
king
went
queen.
into this castle?
Because he built this lavish castle while they're all living in shit. And they're like, fuck
They're
this
just
guy.
rubbing it in their
So,
faces.
so they revolted, and that's literally the French Revolution. They went and cut their heads off,
Damn.
king and queen. And here I am staying in the castle. I'm
How
staying.
are you getting in there?
There's a back entrance,
Okay.
and I'm staying in Mary Antoinette's house, mansion in the gardens.
Is it just empty?
It's empty. It's empty. There's nothing in there actually. Not even furniture.
It's not a museum. It's
no,
not
it's just like this farmhouse, but it's like
zero security,
this
obviously.
big badass. Nothing.
How long are you staying there for?
I stayed there for almost 3 years.
3 years.
Whenever I wanted.
Like pretty
Yeah.
consistently.
Guys, no talking.
I guess like if you found a way in there.
Yeah, found an easy way. But I don't have any money still. Kind of, and when I say hungry, I mean I'm eating biscuits and stuff. Like horrible. I'm spending all my money on herb, so I don't have any extra.
But you're making $250 a week no matter what.
But it's a long story. Basically, I'm buying this weed, and my girlfriend's smoking most of it, and I'm blowing my money basically.
Yeah. And she doesn't know that you're staying in these
Not
gardens.
really.
Like,
I'm telling her, but she doesn't get it. I don't think she ever comprehended how awesome of a life I'm living. But I'm sitting at this one night. She kind of kicks me out. Here I am sitting at this mall across the street from her, And I'm sitting at a Paul's Pastry, which is the largest pastry chain in Europe and France.
Yeah.
And I watched the guy take all the food and put it in a box and start taking it away. And I'm like, what in the world? I mean, we're talking hundreds of dollars worth of food. So I follow him, and he literally takes this box and sets it in a dumpster and walks inside. I went and picked up the box. I've got hundreds of dollars worth of food. Cakes that were $80, $150 a piece. Yeah. And I take it, I'm like, oh my gosh. And I smoke this big, huge Bob Marley blunt.
Yeah.
And I'm eating these cakes with my fingers like, oh my God, this is so amazing. And I did this for probably another 2 years, a year, maybe a year and a half.
That happened every night?
Every night they brought these.
Damn.
And then I would take the leftovers, bring it into town, and like feed all these homeless, and they thought I was rich.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I'm not rich.
Well, in a way you were.
But I try to explain it to them, and yeah, living rich as could be. Like,
yeah.
I couldn't ask for more. And it was just really cool, and I did that until I basically left Paris. But during my time in Paris, I was also not just in Paris. I was in Paris. I was in Japan. I was in New Zealand. I was
all
in
for shoots
or to work, like the same thing I'm doing in Paris.
Yeah.
Like, so they'd send me to Italy
Yeah.
for 2 months, and I wouldn't just do shoot. It would be I'm there working. So you're doing a shoot, but you're also taking this book around trying to get shoots. So like you've got to go here and show them your book, and you got to go here and show them your book, and you got to go here and show them your book. And so your days would be filled with basically just walking around these awesome cities, whether it be London, whether it be a city in Italy, whether it be whatever.
Yeah,
And,
so you're kind of trying to drum up work for yourself. I would think that they would be trying to, like, the whole point of them being there would be to get the work for you, kind of.
But they're giving you the jobs, but the job is to go and try to get the job. They're giving you the spot to go.
Okay. They know where to go, who to send you to.
Yeah, they know the job.
Yeah. So when they would send you to Italy, would you have a place to stay there, or they put you up in a hotel or something? Or?
Yeah, they'd always have me a place to stay or whatever. Oh, when I stayed in Italy, cool story. This girl who basically ran like the housing for this modeling agency, I meet her, and she's gonna put me in this place, and it just happened to be that she's like, all the beds are full. I don't know what I did, like overbooked. So whatever, fuck it, you can just stay with me. So I end up staying with this chick, right?
Yeah.
Who's like in her 20s, pretty cool girl, but not like
just at her apartment.
Yeah, just at her apartment, which is just kind of this smallish apartment. I didn't think anything of it, I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
Normal chick, and I stayed there for about 2 weeks. So like on the second day, she's like, well, somewhere opened up. You can go stay, or you can stay with me. You're really chill and cool. I actually kind of enjoyed your company. You're welcome to stay with me.
Okay.
I'm enjoying myself there.
Yeah.
It's kind of a nice break to get away from the models, because they're just kind of all this. It's very weird.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And just nice break. Normal ass Italian chick, basically.
Yeah.
And that night, she's like, hey, and there was this other model staying there that she was cool with, and she's like, hey, I've got to go to a concert, and I was wondering if you guys would want to go to a concert. And I'm like, I'll go to a concert. Who is it? And she's like, oh, I'm going to The Cure.
Oh, damn.
And I'm like, oh, well, that's cool, whatever. Yeah. And I'm thinking I'm going to this little concert. Nobody would go. I'm trying to get different models to go, come on, let's go. And no, everyone's like, whatever, I don't want to go. And I'm like, dude, let's go. Nobody will go. So I end up getting in this taxi with her, right? And we're pulling up, and it's like this Coca-Cola sponsored huge concert. Like, we get there and it's in this park, and we're talking 50, maybe 75,000 people, maybe more. I don't know. It was just ginormous.
Yeah.
Concert in the park, right?
Freaking awesome.
Oh, I'm excited. And we get there, and right as we're pulling up, she goes, so you can do whatever you want. Like, I've got these passes, and she gives me this pass, and it's like VIP press pass. And she's like, you can do whatever you want. You can go up front. You can sit anywhere you want. You can go anywhere you want. But I'm going to have to go backstage, and I'm going to have to interview Robbie. So I'm like an MTV VJ for Italy. And it's what I do for a job. But whatever. You can stay with me or you can't. It's whatever. And I'm just like, holy shit. I'm living with an MTV VJ? Like, this is awesome.
That's something fun.
And I stuck with her. And I'm standing like from me to you, from Robbie from The Cure, the singer dude, And I'm
while
just
she
like,
interviews him.
and she's interviewing him. I'm out of sight, but I'm just like, oh, bro, what's going on?
Nice.
It's this totally cool little moment that happened,
Yeah.
for just going with the flow, which is how it always happens. If you go with the flow, you get far in life, and so that was Italy, and then I went all over, just kind of modeling and going with the flow and doing whatever, and
That was 2 months.
and that was I was there for about 2 months. Yeah, did 2 months there, 3 months in London, a month in New Zealand, 2 different separate times in Japan once for a week, once for about 2 weeks, just different stuff for 3.5 years, and then finally stopped doing it and kind of moved to New York on my own incognizance, and
Like it just sort of fizzled out, or you
I
got
just
over
kind of
it,
said,
or?
screw it, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't making me much more money, and I just decided, a friend that I met modeling,
Yeah.
moved there. I met a girl. We moved to Puerto Rico, and we did a few things, and we were kind of traveling here and there and doing some weird stuff. We were in Puerto Rico, and she came from a really well-off family, and they were really strange. Not very well off. They weren't like these people I'd just been living with, but they were weird. They didn't like me much, and we ended up living in this camp, this like rebel camp, basically. They were
just
me and her, and there was some other people. This rebel camp was set up by a guy named Tito Kayak or some Puerto Rican rebel dude. Yeah. And we were standing up against the Marriott Hotel that was trying to take over this beach and make it private. It's a personal, it's a local beach.
So you're like digging in, like chained to the tree.
But they're like, we're like camping in their spot, basically.
Yeah.
And I was having a conversation with Tito, who was against America. And I was basically trying to explain to this dude, you're not against America. Even this protest proves that you're not against America. You're against Marriott. You're against corporation. Yeah. I don't even know if Marriott's owned by an American dude. It might be owned by some Chinese company. Who knows who it's owned by? Who cares? The point is, you're not against America. You're against corporations. And anytime you hear some rebel or whatever, some nationalist saying they're against America, they're not against America. They're against corporatization.
Yeah, it's just a
and they're blaming America for the corporations of the world. It's really ridiculous. But I was trying to explain that to him, and he got really mad at me. Yeah. But later on, like that week, we were still at the camp, and somebody left the train. But later on that week, like some of the people that were at the camp that weren't necessarily part of Tito's thing, they were just kind of there supporting the idea of it.
Yeah.
We're like sitting around a campfire, and they started talking about like Uzis and machine guns and like
breaking them out,
and like they were gonna make a stand at the airport and all this. And like I'm like, yeah, that's cool, And then we got to our tent that night and kind of like looked at each other with big eyes, and we're like, we're leaving tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe this is the end. Did they go through with it?
We don't know. We left tomorrow.
Did you like say peace? We're leaving,
yeah, we did. We're going to the rainforest, guys. And that's what we did. We moved to the rainforest for like a couple weeks before we left Puerto Rico.
And just camping out, hiking,
camping out all over Puerto Rico. Yeah, super nice. And then we left Puerto Rico. We went to America. We went to California. We bought a camper there, and we lived in the camper for about 5 months.
Yeah.
And
whereabouts in California?
Just up and down Ventura. I don't know, all over. I can't really. Up and down the bottom from San Diego to, I don't know.
Like north of San Francisco?
No, we didn't go up to San Francisco at that time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We just kind of went around, and then she decided she wanted to go back to New York, and I decided that I was kind of over the relationship and was kind of basically going to take her to New York and drop her off. I think she knows that.
Yeah.
But
in the camper, you just
cross-countryed it. Yeah, but we didn't have any money. We hadn't done anything. But she had some like beads, some like natural stones.
Yeah. Was she selling them or?
She wanted to make like necklaces.
Yeah.
And I had some string, string that you make dream catchers out of.
Yeah.
And we left with basically this string, and about 5 miles out of the town. Go inside. So we left, and about 5 miles out of town, I saw I'm not sure if it was a wild turkey or an eagle that had been hit by some car. It was
on
in
the side
like
of the road?
on the side of the road. It was like in 5 pieces. And I pulled over. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh my God, you don't even know what we just found."
Yeah.
And they were just awesome, huge feathers. I grabbed the tail end and like the wing swirls. It was in pieces, and I just grabbed these huge pieces
Yeah.
and strapped them. They had like bird lice on them, like tons. Like
I had a guy pick me up in Northern California, and there were owls everywhere, and he was just like,
it might have been an owl. Dude.
He's like, "Hey, you got room for an owl?" I was like, "No, I'm
super illegal to have any of that."
Yeah.
But I strapped it to the back of my camper, wide open. Like any cop that could have seen me could have seen these wings I shouldn't have had.
Yeah.
And I started making these dream catchers with the string I had, and I used barbed wire, like junk barbed wire I found. That you can find these rusted up kind of spin-offs from fences where they didn't use it and it's just trash sitting there.
Yeah.
And I took a bunch of that and I made these dream catchers out of free barbed wire and this string I paid $10 for and these feathers and some natural stones, and I made about $1,500 over the next 7 days.
Damn.
Traveling. Yeah.
Just selling it
Easy
anywhere?
money. Yeah, gas stations. I'd go inside and ask if I could.
Really?
Yeah, some would say yes. Most would say yes, and then within an hour or two, somebody else would be like, "What the hell are you letting these people do?" And they'd kick me off. But
Yeah.
I'd already made $200-300.
Wow. That's crazy. Someone come to a gas station and just be like, "Yeah, I'll impulse buy some feathery Barbie."
They were
out.
really
Like,
cool, but yeah, $15-25 a piece.
Yeah.
Doesn't take very many sales to come up with $200.
Yeah.
And so
So you got all the way across the country that way.
I did. And we stayed actually in 3 days in Kansas City partying up too. So
Yeah.
you take 7 days minus 3. We basically made it in 4 days.
Yeah. Did you see your friend there too? Kansas City?
No,
Elijah?
Elijah had already gone to jail.
At that point. Yeah.
Yeah, Elijah Page, first youngest person to die on death row.
Damn.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story in itself.
Another can of worms.
Not exactly a happy-go-lucky story.
Yeah.
I tell it often. It usually ends all the smiles. It's like this downy story, but
We'll
whatever.
save that. We should do another podcast at some point too. But you got to New York and
Got to New York, was going to drop her off, and she was pregnant, so. Needless to say, we stayed together for a little while longer.
yeah. War continues. One thing on that note, let's save the rest of this story for another podcast. Gotcha. All right, that was fun. Yeah, we'll definitely record another one. Here's some more stories, and I kind of like this. Is like I said, this is the longest podcast I've done, but maybe not even long enough. So we'll see. It's still evolving. I think this is episode 24 of the Freestyle Travel Show. We're coming on our quarter century mark. It's gonna be pretty sweet. Yeah, I'm excited for a lot. I feel like every time I do one of these episodes, I got something to say I'm excited for. So yeah, I'll do another one of those, and yeah, probably the next episode will be maybe a Bivy Pack freestyle travel gear exclusive kind of episode where I'll just talk about that, because this Kickstarter we're going to launch is pretty imminent. Very soon. We got maybe half of the footage done today for the Kickstarter, and yeah, the process with the Kickstarter is, it's got to write up something pretty good. I'll get into, I keep saying, I'll get into this the next episode, but I want to talk about it now, so talk about it a little bit now. Yeah, we're thinking about getting some laser cutting done and some other stuff, so got to get some costs together and just make sure I dialed in. The last Kickstarter is just, man, there's a few surprises in there with shipping and some other stuff. Kind of got caught off guard. So dialing some of that in, and yeah, just once we get the video up, it takes a second for Kickstarter to approve it, and then we post it. But I'm really hoping to get it done by next week, so it's up and running. And probably right along with that, I'll have an episode here, just talking about that, really diving in. So I'm excited for that. And yeah, I hope you're excited too. This Bivy Pack's is staring at me. Freaking love it. Yeah, so as much as I'm like, the whole last episode was about bases and breaks and staying in one place for a little while, and I've been here for 2-3 weeks more. I'm losing track of time. It's not a good thing, but it is a good thing when I'm getting something like this done. It feels pretty good. Like every stitch I make with this Bivy Pack is like, okay, well, I'm gonna be in Patagonia. Like, it's gonna be downpouring. I'm gonna be inside this thing, just cocooned, warm and nice, feeling good. Like, yeah, feeling warm. That's the word for it. This feeling good, knowing that this time I put in is paying off pretty good. And there's gonna be people around the world too feeling the same thing in these backpacks. It's pretty cool. Every decision I make with this, I know is going to affect several other people who are going to be getting it too. So pretty awesome. I'll dive into it, but let's just wrap it up. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Meeting Christian, we'll definitely have him on again while I'm here, off and on. So cheers, good times, and I will see you down the road. With all my shit straight, I'll get my big break.